a Rabbinic Anthology selected by C.G. Montefiore and H.Loewe. At the end of Herbert Lowe's introduction, I have appended the part that explains the abbreviations, and we left off with a part that makes it sound like there's quite a bit of death penalties, which there actually are recommended. So too, when they even condemn David because he showed kindness to Hanun the Ammonite, which they regard as against the spirit of Deuteronomy 23 verses 3 to 6, and they quote Ecclesiastes 7 verse 16, "Be not righteous overmuch, and say, a man should not seek to go beyond or to be more virtuous than the law." David sought to do a kindness to an Ammonite, whereas God had said, "Thou shalt not seek their peace and their prosperity forever." Such was the burden of fundamentalism, but here I am, happily concerned to gather flowers, not weeds, and the weeds have only to be just occasionally alluded to and then ignored and passed by. Now, had the Israelites and then the Jews and then the Christians preserved perfectly what the prophets had taught, what the Messiahs had brought, then, following exactly what you have as is would have worked, right? H.L.'s note on the question of fundamentalism and its consequences in ethics. For example, what Mr. Montefiore says about Phinehas' story. See below page 650 and note 8. And this H.L.'s note, we are ending page 534. 1501, Genesis R, Nawach 38.6, the page 355. Rabbi, see 419 of our selections, or listen to these programs in order. Great is peace, for even if the Israelites worship idols, and there is peace among them, God says, I have no peace, as it were, over them, seeing that peace is among them. Genesis R, Nawach 38, verse 6, the page 355. Well, peace in terms of their faith is supposed to be a peace and wholeness. 1502, Abbot 112, Hillel said, "Be of the disciples of Aaron, loving peace and pursuing peace, loving thy fellow creatures, and drawing them near to the Torah." Abbot 112. 1503, Bear 17a, a man should always be keen-witted in the fear of God, and giving the soft answer that turns away wrath. See Proverbs 15:1. Increasing peace with his brethren and relatives, and with all men, even the heathen in the street, so that he may be beloved above and popular on earth and acceptable to his fellow creatures. Bear 17a. Now, I don't know what they mean by heathen. Probably they mean somebody who turned their back on God, rather than, don't call people pagan or heathen because of their religion, because that was just a Catholic insult for monotheists too. So, this was a favorite saying of Abaya. 1504, Gith 52a. There were two men whom Satan incited against each other. Every Friday evening, the Sabbath, they wrangled with one another. It happened that Rabbi Meir came thither, and he restrained them 3 Friday evenings running, till he made peace between them. Then he heard Satan cry, "Woe is me, our Meir has driven me away from my house." Gith 52a. H.L.'s note, In certain versions, for example in the Friday night meditations contained in the prayer book Derek Ha Chayim, which contains many ethical extracts to illustrate and amplify the liturgy, the story is told not of two men, but of husband and wife. Page 298 of the edition of Warsaw, 1874. It will be found in most editions after the conclusion of the synagogue service and before the family benedictions. That's H.Loewe note. 1505. Bear 64a. See Prayer Book, page 122. R. Elazar said in the name of R. Chanina, the disciples of the wise increase peace in the world. As it is said, and all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, probably God is a verb and noun, and great shall be the peace of thy children. Isaiah 54, verse 13. Read not Benayik, thy children, but Bonayik, thy builders. Great peace have they that love thy law, and there is no stumbling for them. Psalm 119, verse 165. Peace be within thy walls, and thy prosperity within palaces. Psalm 122, verse 7. For my brethren and companions' sake, I will now say, peace be within thee. Psalm 122, verse 8. For the sake of the house of the Lord, probably increasing existence, our God, I will seek thy good. Psalm 122, verse 9. The Lord will give strength unto his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. Psalm 39:11. Bear 64a, see the prayer book, page 122. H.Loewe's note. This passage has been generally misunderstood. There is a treatise by Isaac Dobe Bamberger called Sefer Pare Emet, dealing with all the Talmudic passages involving a reed knot. Frankfurt on the Main, 1871. Bamberger, too, takes the alternative reading as Bonayik, builders, and he proceeds to show the relevance of the metaphor of building, but such reasoning is ex post facto. A priori, one does not associate students with building, though we do use the word edification. The truth, I venture to suggest, is that Benayik is an unusual form, not unparalleled, however, for Benayik, thy students, which is an exact homonym of Benayik, thy sons, in order to bring out the contrast. The unusual form is essential, otherwise it would appear as though X was being explained by X. The translation should then be, read not thy children, but thy students. For further details, see my essay in Orient and Occident, the volume of essays presented to Dr. Gaster, London, 1937, and that's H.Loewe's note. 1506, Tunch B. Yitro 37b. Of the Torah it says, its ways are peaceful ways, Proverbs 3:17. God purposed to give the Torah to Israel immediately when they left Egypt, but they were quarrelsome. Hour after hour, one said to the other, let us appoint a chief and return to Egypt, Numbers 14:4. It says, they, plural, journeyed from Succoth, they, plural, encamped in Etham, they were journeying in contention, Meribah. They were camping in contention, but when they reached Rephidim, they all became reconciled and united into one single band. For when Israel arrived there, he encamped face to face with Sinai, Exodus 19:2. Not they encamped, but he, Then said God, the Torah, all of it, is peace. To whom can I give it? To a people that loves peace. Henceforward, all its paths, i.e. Israel's, are peace. Proverbs 3:17. Continuation of the verse cited above. Tanch B, Yitro 37b. Because remember in our passage earlier, and acceptable to his fellow creatures. (1507) Tanch B, Devarim 3b. God told Moses to make war on Sihon. Deuteronomy 2:24. But Israel did not make war. They sent messengers of peace. Deuteronomy 2:26. God said, I ordered you to make war, but you made overtures for peace. There is no peace, says the Lord, probably increasing existence, for the wicked. Isaiah 48:22. How great then must be the words of peace if Israel disobeyed God for peace's sake, and yet he was not wrath with them. Tanch B, Devarim 3b, for Moses' efforts for peace and the reward, see 1522, 1508, Tanch Yitro, section 17, folio 126b, finished 127a, initial, see selection 222. R. Johanan B. Zakkai said, it says, out of peaceful, A.V. perfect, stones shalt thou build the altar, for the altar makes peace between Israel and their Father who is in heaven. Here is an inference from minor to major. The altar stones cannot see, hear, or speak, yet because they bring peace, the Torah ordains that iron shall not be wielded over them. Exodus 20:25. How much more then must one who promotes peace between a man and his fellow, between husband and wife, have his days prolonged? God said, in this world, by reason of sin, life is cut short, but in the world to come, God will destroy death forever and wipe away tears from every face. Isaiah 25:8, C 1493, Tanch Yitro 17, folio 126b, finished 127a, initial, C selection 222, 1509, Ab RN version 225, 25b. Be of the disciples of Aaron, loving peace. Abbott 112. If a man quarreled with his wife and the husband turned the wife out of the house, then Aaron would go to the husband and say, my son, why did you quarrel with your wife? The man would say, because she acted shamefully towards me. Aaron would reply, I will be your pledge that she will not do so again. Then he would go to the wife and say to her, my daughter, why did you quarrel with your husband? And she would say, because he beat me and cursed me. Aaron would reply, I will be your pledge that he will not beat you or curse you again. Aaron would do this day after day until the husband took her back. Then in due course the wife would have a child, and she would say, it is only through the merit of Aaron that this son has been given to me. And she would call the boy Aaron. Some say that there were more than 3,000 Israelites called Aaron, and so when Aaron died, it says that all the congregation mourned for him. But when Moses died, it says that those who wept were the children of Israel, not all the children of Israel. Numbers 20, verse 29, Deuteronomy 34, 8, Ab RN, version 2, 25, 25b. And so that he may be beloved above and popular on earth. But you got to be careful of being popular for popularity's sake, right? Popular because you increase peace among your close family and those who aren't quite your close family, to turn away the wrath wrath being the lack of love, or, not just regular anger. There's a reason for it.